Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're tuning into Uni Tunes, the show where we seek to showcase the soundscape of Sydney's underground scene. I'm Fynn, and today I'm so lucky to be joined by Junior, an emerging pop artist who is quickly capturing the heart of Australian listeners. But before we jump right into it, we want to acknowledge and pay our respect to the traditional custodians in the land of which we're on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. So, Junior, could you introduce yourself for us?
I'm Junior. My real name is Ben, but I go by Junior, JNR dot. I'm a pop artist. I guess you would call it pop artist. I live in Sydney. I work out of my studio in Marrickville. I've been doing this for a bit over a year now. I released my first song in March last year. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I probably should have asked you your real name quite earlier
Yeah,
on.
I know. No
yeah,
one, literally, because I've been doing this for a year, sometimes I'll meet new people like in the industry and like at gigs and stuff, and like they don't know my name. My name's not on Instagram or any of my socials. Unless you're like you've known me before from like when we were kids or high school or something, like no one knows my name. So like there's a lot of people that are like, Junior. I'm like, now I respond to it. Now I like actually like.
Yeah, right. It's ingrained now.
Yeah, exactly. I look back. I'm like, oh yeah, that's my name.
I mean, you have the anonymity, which is kind of nice, you know.
Yeah, it's like the Weeknd Daft Punk kind of
Exactly.
thing. I always like love that kind of image where like there's a bit of mystery around it. Like I don't want to be like super mysterious. I don't want to hide my face or anything like that. Because I want it to be, I want like what I'm doing to feel authentic. But I always think, I'm always drawn to artists that are more than just the person. There's like a little bit of a story and they make like about, not that I've made a backstory, but I feel like that will come like as I just keep making music. But I love that mistake around artists like that make like eras and make like themselves kind of like a character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole story around the music.
Exactly.
I hate saying the word brand because it sounds kind of corporate, but a brand as a marketing student
Literally,
myself.
if you were going to make it, use it as a marketing term, it would a brand. Essentially, I that is half of my job is advertising myself as a brand to, you know, streaming services, to blogs, to radio. Like that, I do a lot of marketing as a non-marketing person.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, speaking of marketing, you have a chance to sell yourself with 5 rapid fire questions. Hopefully you're ready. Let's get right into it.
Let's go.
All right, cool. First question, how do you explain your sound in 3 words?
Melancholic. I feel like that's like I play with the happy sad thing quite a bit. Atmospheric, because I'm big on textures. I love ambient music, and let's say lyrical. Not that I would like say that I'm like a lyrical genius or something like that, but like I do try and hide a lot of the meaning, the true meaning of the song in metaphors and as we said, the melancholic thing. Like I like to, you know, write really happy songs and then hide really darker, more personal meanings under them in with metaphors and auto-tune and lots of things that kind of like cover that up. So yeah, that would be
wonderful.
Words.
So I was about to build on that, but I remember it's rapid fire. Let's move on. How long have you been making music for outside of like releasing it?
Outside of releasing it, I've been making music since I was 14. So I was in like indie bands and stuff like that for a long time, just like with my friends. And that was kind of like my thing for a while. So how old am I now? Damn, it's 10 years. That's crazy. But like professionally, I was releasing music in those indie bands when I was like a teenager, like 16, 17. But I only really started taking it seriously like a bit before COVID. Not that I wasn't taking it seriously, but like professionally, like I want to do this for a living. I want to be able to quit my job and just make music and just do that. That was when I kind of started taking things a bit more seriously.
Cool, right. I have to ask, what was the best name of one of those bands you were in high school?
It haunts me, but I loved the band when I was in it. It was a lot of fun, but we had a band called Plastic Jack, and we thought it was so cool. We're doing like funk rock, and so like it was like a little bit quirky, but like now it's like like I would never name a band Plastic Jack. That's awful.
Right. Okay. Cool. Favorite artist right now.
Favorite artist right now is like without a doubt Friday. It's he just makes. I was talking to another friend Jerome a bit about Friday's music, and like it's you can't tie it down to one genre. It's just all. It just feels like him. It just feels like him as a person putting it into his music. He just put this song out called "Beaming," which is incredible. I saw him play it live last year, and I've known every single word to the chorus since then. Like it's just been stuck in my head. It's like a bit of folk, a bit of like hip hop, a bit of like breakbeat. Like I don't know how to explain it. It's so good. It's Friday.
Yeah, right. Those are the best kind of artists where no matter what they put out, it is them.
Yeah, it just feels like him as a person, and like I am not surprised by the music he puts out and how good it is because it's so authentic to him.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Back to you as an artist. What is your dream venue that you would love to perform at?
Dream venue, like it's not like dreaming massive, but like I'd love to play the Enmore. Like that is still like a big room. Don't get me wrong.
For sure.
But like a lot of people would be like, oh, Madison Square Garden, or like arenas. Like I don't like going to arena shows as a fan.
Yep.
So like I feel like if I get, let's say when, but like if I get to that level, like arena shows would be so impersonal, and the people who make it personal, they're real artists. That's a crazy feat to accomplish. But back to the Enmore, I would go to shows as much, like every band that played the Enmore that I had a remote interest in, I would go just because the room sounds amazing.
Yep.
And it's got, before the floor broke, it's got this like slope to it that like I've been in the front row, I've been in the middle, and I've been at the very back, and I haven't felt like I'm missing out on anything. You know, when you go to a gig and you're like at the very back, you're like, oh.
What was the point?
Yeah, it would have been so much better if we were like at the front, or like even in the middle. There's such a vibe, but you don't feel like you're missing out, and the sound is so good. It's beautiful room too, like to look at. Emma.
Nothing's better than a small venue.
Yeah, exactly.
Like as a fan, the best thing that can happen to you is one of your favorite artists performing in a small venue near you.
100%.
That's elite because you can't emulate that kind of connection in the big stadiums, especially.
And I reckon a lot of those big acts like would really like love to have those opportunities to play those small rooms again, because like the true fans show up to that, and I don't know, so there's just a different energy in those small rooms.
Sure. That's great. I mean, not knowing how good your music is and how quickly it's kind of getting out there, I don't think Enmore's too outside of the
I hope
possibility.
So. That would be an absolute dream. Like honestly,
I'll be there in the front row when it happens.
Please do.
All right, cool. Speaking about your music and how it's growing, you've got a single on Wednesday. You Stay in My Mind. You said online that this is your favorite Junior song. So what is it about this track that you're particularly proud of?
It feels, this is a really old song, firstly. So, like, I wrote it with my best friend from, like, he was in those bands with me, Nico, in 2020. My other best friend, Max, played guitars on it. So, like, it's very close to the family. Like, everything feels like it, because a lot of my music I make on my own. And sometimes I'll write with outside people that, you know, I'm close to, but like, they're not like my best friends. So like, I don't really get that opportunity to, you know, write with my best friends that often. And so when I do, it's like, the music is often like a lot more special. And this song's been out around for a while. I mean, and it's gone through lots of iterations. And the most recent iteration, like where it's sitting now, is like, it feels very organic and not trying to do, you know, when you hear like a lot of my music's very electronic based and has a lot of those influences. But you hear an electronic artist like do the band thing.
Yeah.
And they're like do a band thing and like, oh, they're gonna do that for one song and then kind of like go off.
Yeah.
This felt like very authentically band, like authentically real instruments, and it didn't feel like I was trying to push for that kind of sound too much.
Is that something you could see yourself exploring with in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I want to take my music into as many different realms. Not only like I want to take it to the extremes of that and make incredibly organic music with only I'm doing air quotes real instruments. But I also want to take it to the other side completely and make like the dirtiest dance music possible.
Nice.
And like I want to experiment with like hip hop and trap music. So like I see myself going in lots of different areas at this point, and I feel like this era of Junior is a lot about embracing the fact that the sound isn't there yet. Embracing the fact that I don't quite know what the Junior sound is once again. Yeah, so but I'm kind of happy about that, and I think that this single kind of is the first step, is the first one that I've been like, oh, okay, maybe this is where I'm walking down.
Okay.
This is the route that like I haven't found that sound yet, but this is like, okay, I could go this way.
Yeah.
I could really see this feels like the first step into the next stage.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
So when you went into this track, were you thinking, yeah, this is gonna be? Did it come? Sorry, I'm rephrasing my question.
No, go.
Did it come before your electronic stuff?
This song came, so basically with Junior, I'll give a little bit of backstory. We, in 2020, I decided to focus on this project.
Okay.
And like make music for Junior. And I wasn't sure what that music was going to be. COVID happened, and I was like, okay, I don't really know what the whole vibe of releasing music in a pandemic is going to be. So I'm just going to wait for things to chill out a little bit. Then I'll start releasing music. In that time, I'm just going to write as much as possible, try and find a sound. And so I did that. And this is one of those songs that came out then. And so when I was writing it first, it was like very like leaning on my influences. So I think it was right after Notes on a Conditional Form came out, the 1975 album. And I think I was trying to do like a If You're Too Shy, Let Me Know kind of vibe. And the final product is completely different, like absolute left turn from that. So I don't think I was trying to do a more organic sound going into it, because like I was just trying to figure out what my sound was and just throw shit at the wall and see what stuck. And then the song stuck, but the vibe of it didn't. And so we changed the vibe. But the songwriting is pretty similar to what it started with in 2020.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, brilliant. Well, now that you've mentioned the 1975, I can ask about Ash from Triple J.
Yeah.
Did that great TikTok recommending you to fans of the 1975.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
Yeah. Honestly, that was like such a shock. I'll address something that a couple people said. Like, I didn't ask Ash to do this. I just got home and I just got a notification saying she'd tagged me in this TikTok. And I was just as shocked as everyone else was. People were messaging me being like, yo, this is sick. And like, that's cool. The fact that she did that, that's like so nice. I endlessly appreciate her support. But the fact that like people followed through after that, my engagement, like I know you're not supposed to look at numbers, but like I look at numbers and see what the vibe is, just so I know like who's listening to my music, what and what's happening, just so I know the vibe. And my engagement went up. Like I had so many more people that were like actually properly interested in my music. And I was like, this is really cool. Obviously, you know, the 1975 had just come. I saw the concert. It was amazing.
Fantastic.
But, and so there's probably a little element of that.
Good timing.
It's great timing, and it's also great timing that I'm releasing this song now. Not that it sounds too much like the 1975, but I feel like people looking for new music, when they're saying, "Oh, this band sounds like this other band," I don't think they're looking for an exact copy. And if they found an exact copy, they'd probably be pretty disappointed.
Yeah, because it's not.
Exactly. Well, if you want to listen to the 1975, I'm not going to listen to another album.
Exactly.
Not another artist, I mean. So I feel like it's perfect timing. Ash and Triple J, their relationship with independent artists and people who, you know, don't really have that those connections, those abilities to just like get played on Triple J like that, or get played on radio stations and get like editorial playlists the second that like I still don't know with every release how it's going to be perceived. Some artists have such a fan base that they know exactly what's going to happen when they release a song. And for Triple J to like help you out with that when you're an upcoming artist, just because they fuck with your music, that's really cool. I think that's a really cool.
That's mad.
Thing. Yeah.
That's so good. So, like we've talked about, you make an effort to make sure your music's different, because if you want to listen to the 1975, for example, you'd listen to the 1975. Yeah. So how do you draw the best from your various inspirations, but still simultaneously really try and distinguish yourself as your own artist with your own music?
Like, as I said, I think I'm really living in the moment, living in the fact that I don't know what my sound is, and I'm really embracing that. And I find that a lot of people would say the opposite. They'd be like, "No, don't. You should know what your sound is before you release it, because people are going to be confused. People are going to be like, they're not going to know what kind of artist they're listening to before they listen to it." But I am just kind of like really happy that I don't know what the sound is, and I'm just like, okay, I really like I love hip hop music. Brockhampton, one of my favorite artists to come out of the 2010s, and so like I would make some songs kind of like them, but like put my own spin on it, because obviously I can't do I can't do a Kevin Abstract. I can't do a Maddie Healy. I can't do other influences. I can't do a Bon Iver. I can't do a Kevin Parker. Like, I can't be those people. So I take what I like from those and add them to my music. Like, usually the song is already there. The song itself, they write themselves in a way without sounding cheesy. Like, I'll have ideas, like melodies, chords, record them really quickly. And then the aesthetic around it, that's when I draw from my influences. But I try not to like lean on them too hard, because like if you lean on your influences too hard, you're not being authentic to yourself. Yeah. But those influences are also a part of yourself, because that's what makes you that's what inspires you to make music. So yeah, I feel like it's a mix of that and the fact that I don't really need a genre at the moment. No. I just need to know what I like. And that's it.
That's perfect. Yeah. This is a bit of a digression, but it's somewhat relevant, talking about inspiration. I've been wanting to get an artist's take on the Ed Sheeran lawsuit he won this morning.
I saw.
What are your thoughts on that as an artist?
Yeah, honestly. So, okay, I didn't know that the song that was... I didn't know the song that was suing Ed Sheeran.
Yep.
I found out it was Marvin Gaye this morning.
Yes.
So, because I haven't been paying close attention, but I saw the press conference that Ed did this morning. So, honestly, I'm shocked that Marvin Gaye would try and come at Ed Sheeran.
Yep.
Like, Marvin Gaye, his family is like probably numerously rich at this point. Why do they need to? Why are there two rich people fighting over chords and melodies? Especially when, if you're in a major key, you got 8 notes, you got 8 chords. That's it. Like, there's going to be times when people use the same chords as other people, and like as songwriters, we have tools. Like, we're told to, like when we're taught how to write music, we're taught these chords work well together, And you can hear it. Even if you're not taught that, you can hear that these chords work well together. So if I know these chords work well together and you know these chords work well together, then surely there's going to be some times where that, where you both do the same thing. And like, once again, 8 notes for melodies. You got 8 notes and that's it. There's going to be people who do very similar stuff. And I think intention is the main point behind it. Like, if it's an obvious intent to rip someone else off, that's a thing. But also if there's an obvious intent to pay homage to someone, that's also an obvious thing. Obviously, you need the right credits to give, and they should get a songwriting credit on it. But I listened to both the songs this morning. I can't see a reason to. And I didn't know did I get this right? Has this been going for 8 years? He said 8 years.
Potentially, it's been a long time.
That's nuts.
It's not a new song.
No, it's not.
So probably.
Thinking out loud, when did that come out?
That's like
that's
2014.
Yeah,
I want to say. So yeah, that checks out.
I'm not good at maths. 15, 16, 17,
Neither.
8, 9, 20, 21, 22, 23. No, that's So around.
Far out.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That he's been because that's a lot of time to be in a lawsuit.
Far out.
And to release an album and do a world tour as well at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think he got married and had a kid.
Yeah, 2 kids.
2 kids.
Yeah.
No way. Good on him.
Yeah, good on him. But let's bring it back to Junior.
Yeah.
So you've recently collaborated with JØVA.
Yes.
On a wonderful brand new track, Cruel. How did that collaboration come along?
So this song was one that sat on my hard drive for a long time. It was, I wrote it around the time that my last relationship was kind of ending. And it was just kind of like therapy. Like I just had to get that out. And it was initially just the first verse and the chorus. And it just repeated 3 times. I just copied and pasted it 3 times with the instrumental, the same kind of build up that was happening. And I just kind of left it. And it was just like, okay, that's cool. I might finish it later. I don't know, maybe. And then I was in the studio with JØVA because we're mates, and I don't know what we were supposed to be working on that day. I think we were just coming into jam, and I showed him some of what I've been working on. He showed me some of what he's been working on, and I was like, oh, I got this song. I don't really have any other parts to it vocally or melodically, but like, you might like it. Let me know what you think. I showed it to him, and he initially was like, "Oh, it's cool. It's cool. I don't know, like, if I could add anything melodically to it, but it's cool." And then we listened to it for a little bit longer, and he just popped out with these melodies, and I was like, "Okay, that's how we have to finish the song." So we finished the melodies. We wrote all the lyrics. He took it from his a different point of view with a similar situation, and just made it what it is. And I think I could never have done that verse that he did.
Right.
Like the way that 2 different artists think melodically is always very different. Like, no one's going to write a similar melody to the way that I usually construct melodies when I hear chords, and same vice versa. I couldn't do what JØVA does because I would think I would interpret the instrumental in a different way than he would. And he smashed it. That made me like know what the bridge was going to be and how it should build up and all this. Like, so that his verse was kind of the catalyst for everything else.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, as you've mentioned, you had 2 different processes coming together. Was that something that was new and a bit of a challenge to navigate, or is it something that you're somewhat used to, working with other creatives when you're making your own solo tracks?
Yeah, like I'm pretty used to it at this point. I've been like writing with other people for as long as I've been making music, so collaboration is like pretty easy with me when it's with the right people.
Okay.
The right people is really important. If you're not working with the right people, and if you're not enjoying yourself, obviously don't tell them that you're not enjoying yourself. But like, if you're not enjoying yourself, the song's not going to go anywhere. And if like I produce for other people as well, and if they're paying me to produce a song that I don't want to produce, I'm going to say no, because like at the end of the day, if I'm producing a song I don't want to produce, then the song's not going to end up really good, and my name's going to be on it in the end.
Yeah.
So like, you have to be really not picky, because I think I try to work with as many people as possible. I always hit up new people that I'm like, oh, I really like your music, we should work together. But you have to be picky in the fact that like, you have to know that even if you really like their music, but you don't work well together, and that song didn't really work, maybe another song will work. But if you don't work well together, then it's not going to work out in the end. But I think, I'm very different with. I love collaborating. I collaborate a lot with people, but then again, a lot of my songs is like very solitude, just like me figuring it out on my own. And I kind of know sometimes what songs need to be one that I need to contemplate and do on my own, because I work very slowly in that regard. I'll like really make sure every little piece of the instrumentation is right before I continue. When I'm working with other people, it's kind of just like a conversation, like, this is cool, let's put lots of cool things in together and like see what happens. Eventually you cut that kind of stuff out, but it's a very different process when I'm collaborating to when I'm just in the studio by myself, because it's very solo moment of contemplation.
Yeah, right. Does that lead you to kind of end up with things that you wouldn't have normally considered on your own, because you're more kind of working organically with someone else, so you're probably overthinking it a bit less?
100%.
Yep.
Yeah, overthinking it way less. You move faster, and like just some ideas that don't need to be, I don't need to tweak a kick drum for like 2 hours when I'm with someone else, because they'll get bored. And also, just as I said before, like, I interpret music different to everyone else. Everyone interprets music differently. And so when you get two people that interpret music differently together, you're going to interpret the song differently. Sometimes that ends up being like, oh, this is what it should be. And then the other person being like, oh, this is what it should be. And you clash heads. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's like someone comes up with an idea that is so good, and you could never have thought of anything like that. But that's what makes it perfect. Like, everyone in the end, if you're not in a session to serve the song, you're not in it for the right reasons. Okay. You have to be in a session to, the only thing that you are the only thing that you need to make good in that session is the song. You don't want to serve your ego. You don't want to be like, oh, I've got the best idea. I want to get my voice on this. I want to get my guitar parts on this. No. If you only have one good idea in that session, and that's the only one, then that's fine. The only thing that you should be doing is serving the song and making the song as good as it can possibly be, because that's what people are going to listen to at the end of the day.
Mm. Well, one track that you recently did fit with and served quite well was your Just Like Her remix, which you described as a dream come true. Can you tell us a bit about that and what that opportunity meant to you?
I don't know if I should stay in character for this one, or if I should. Yeah, I'll stay in character. Okay. So yeah, Heartbreaking Blue, like, they were the best band of the 80s, absolutely the best band of the 80s, and they still continue to this day. I can't believe they got back together after Mason Dane, who still looks as good as he ever did. After all of his drug issues and all of his ego issues, they got back together. They made this album. And yeah, I got to remix Just Like Her, which is a great song off their greatest hits. And yeah, it was an interesting one. I got the song. That was my favorite one off the album. When they gave me the song, I thought of these just different chords, and I was just like playing around with it, honestly. I love dance music. I like don't get to experiment with it as much. Like, I dove into a little bit for Cruel at the end. Yep. I've got this one song on SoundCloud that's not nowhere else. It's not going to be anywhere else, called 1989, which is like my attempt at a house song, but it's
Right.
like over piano. Like I love dance music. I that's like what like gets me going a lot of the time, and like I follow so many producers that are doing that kind of stuff. So being able to remix songs is like really exciting for me because I get to really delve really deep into that world without being like, oh, it's a Junior song, so I got to
Yeah.
tailor back a little bit. But yeah, it was really fun. It was really fun to do that. It's kind of like it's a weird song. I don't even know once again, I can't even say the genre of it. There probably is a genre, but I don't know the name of it.
Yeah.
It's like minimal house. Is that a thing?
Probably.
Okay, cool.
Probably. Great. Well, yeah, that's really exciting. And you've been releasing music quite a bit in the last couple of years. You have been, you've been on a roll. So your debut single, Remember, from last year.
Yeah, last
Yep.
year.
Has your vocals, like you mentioned right at the beginning of this interview, with some wonderful vocal distortion. So I want you to talk our listeners through the stylistic choice there. Because I love when it's used, you know, creatively and we as a texture, like you said. So walk us through that.
So I was. It's a weird inspiration, but I was really inspired when I read an interview with Justin Vernon, who's a singer in Bon Iver, basically about his third record, which was soaked in auto-tune and vocoder and all these like crazy vocal effects, basically because it was a really, really sad record lyrically for him, and he didn't want to be as vulnerable as he has been in the past. So he kind of used the same lyrics, but like coded them in this these effects, which sound amazing, and also serve the song meaning wise. And I'm big on that. So yeah, the song was always had these effects on it. I've actually sung the verses the octave down.
Right.
So it's like I take bribes in second. It's really low, and then I pitched it up. Put hard auto tune, lots of distortion, and yeah. So the song's about my grandfather had Alzheimer's, and the song's about just waking up and not knowing who you are, and just putting myself in his shoes and just trying to and seeing. It's about family a lot of the time. It's like seeing my dad in the mirror, like when I'm looking at myself, and yeah, it's a really. I found it like really hard to write because I found it really hard to write over this like really weird wonky punk song. So I was like, it doesn't sound right if I'm just like doing the band thing and like no auto-tune, just like rocking out. Like that doesn't feel right. So I needed to kind of code it in this effect so that it had I don't know, it just had a character to it. And I think that when you have like as at least in my experience when I saw my grandfather with Alzheimer's, like he's not himself, he's a different person. And so I really wanted to kind of make sure that I wasn't singing as myself, because I was kind of singing the story, quotes again for those listening. The story is like me waking up at that age and not knowing who my kids are, and like not knowing who my wife is, and just not knowing myself and why I got here. And that's not obviously a story that I've gone through personally, and I like don't know what that's like. But so I kind of wanted to play that character, and that character had like this. When you have Alzheimer's, at least what I saw in my grandfather, he kind of regressed this childlike person. Yeah. And so the octave up thing and like making it kind of sound like a baby singing this, that's kind of what I was going for thematically. Which, yeah, I've actually never talked about that to any, no one knows what that song's about.
Right. Well, thank you very much for opening.
Yeah, that's all good.
No, I relate to that with, you know, a grandparent suffering from that. It's awful to witness and yeah, like you said, they're not the same person.
No, not at all.
But with that song, correct me if I'm off, but I feel like it also creates like it's a bit foggy.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, to imagine how I would feel if like I wasn't able to fully think.
Yeah.
That's almost what it sounds like, and that was the impression I got before even knowing exactly what it was about. So
yeah, like when the chorus comes, it's like it starts off in this like really telephone like effect,
Yeah.
and like it's kind of like I've woken up but I can't see or hear or understand what's happening, and then someone comes in and they're talking to me, and that's when the chorus comes in. It's like,
yeah,
what is going on? Obviously I don't have Alzheimer's, so I don't know exactly, but like
No.
that's what that's what I was seeing.
yeah. Well, it takes a profound amount of empathy to be able to take someone else's experience and translate it into sound in such a detailed and granular way. So I think that's fantastic.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And to talk about some of your other songs, and correct me once again if I'm wrong, but I feel like A Friend and Say Light Me Up are much more kind of about romantic frustrations. But then you get I Didn't Know Myself Before I Met You, which is one of your more recent ones, which is just allowed to be a wholesome love song.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's more challenging? Expressing your exasperation in a dysfunctional relationship, or just expressing earnestly being in love?
Yeah. I won't talk about A Friend and Say too much.
Yep.
Because they're not actually about a relationship.
Yep.
They're about a couple of my best friends.
Yep.
There was just like when you're best friends with someone since you're a kid, you're basically in a relationship.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it's you guys against the world. And then when there's a distance there, and there's lies that aren't things that aren't told to you, it kind of feels like that relationship is broken up.
Yep.
And that's what I was kind of going through when A Friend and Say came out. So yeah, everyone thinks they're romantic.
Yep.
It's about my boys, which is really funny. Especially since like the chorus of A Friend is like, everyone's like, oh, it's about sex, but it's like, no, like when you're friends with someone that hard, you don't have to have sex. You're just like in a relationship.
It is a
like,
breakup or a breakdown.
Exactly. So like the difference between them, like I was in a very dark place when those ones happened, because like when you have a relationship with your friends for that long, it kind of it's not broken. We're still friends, but like
Good to hear.
the fact that like there's stuff that happens and that is like opens up a lot of trauma and like dark things in you. I was in a pretty bad place when that happened. But then I didn't know myself. That was like me trying to not feel that way.
Okay.
I was kind of over everything, and like we'd resolve things to an extent. But like I didn't know myself is just like me embracing the fact that like I'm the happiest I've ever been with my partner, and it was just I'm not very good at writing love songs.
Yeah.
I struggle writing happy songs in general, just because like when I'm happy, when I'm happy, I'm not thinking about like really cool lyric ideas.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking, oh, I got to write this down.
Okay.
I'm just living in that moment and like trying to be as happy as I can. When I'm sad, I'm like tortured artist, like thinking all these lines and like, oh, this,
That's when you need the therapy.
Yeah, and you overthink when you're sad.
Yes.
You overthink when you're sad.
Everything.
You think like, yeah. So when you're overthinking, that's when my art comes out the easiest. So I wanted to write a happy song because I hadn't done that.
Well, yeah, it's great. It will probably be up there at the end of the year on my Spotify Wrapped. It's a great song. I listen to it a lot.
Oh man, I'm so happy to hear that. Like, yeah, it was a quick one to get out in the end. Like I got all the lyrics out really, really fast. With Cam, who I wrote it with. Cam Nexon, he's a good guy. He's a really good producer and writer. But yeah, it was a quick one to get out, and I'm really happy that it ended up being like one of my most relatable songs that people kind of, because that's like when I write sad songs, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm sad. Here's a song. I'm done now. Like I don't want to think about that. But like I'm still in this happy I didn't know myself era in my life.
Wonderful.
You know, so like I kind of am happy that other people are in that too.
It's wonderfully simplistic. Like that feeling of I didn't know myself before I met you. It's great. It's fantastic. It's great.
I feel like when you're in new relationships, you are a different person when you're in love. You're a different person with every single person that you're in love with, because sometimes you make yourself a little bit like them, or you sacrifice some things about yourself to make things happy, make the other person happy. And with my partner, like I didn't have to do that. And it was just like, oh, you get me, I get you. Like this is how I'm supposed to be in love. I can just be myself. Right. This is crazy.
Fantastic.
Like that was the vibe that I was trying to get across with that.
Right. Well, that's great. I'm so happy to hear that. So before we wrap up, I've got to ask about your live show.
Yeah.
So how does your performances bring a new dimension into your music?
Yeah. Honestly, my live shows, I've only played a few because I've only been around for a little bit. But it's similar to my writing process. Like when I'm producing a song by myself, it's by myself. And so I wanted to get that kind of across in my live show. At the moment, I'm thinking of building it as my career progresses. But at the moment, it's just me on stage. So basically, I run absolutely everything from tracks. I do guitar. I do live sampling.
Wow.
And I run auto-tune, which is because that's a big thing in a lot of my songs. Yeah, and it is honestly, it's exhausting. Like it's a lot to do on stage, and it's like a little bit terrifying. Like if something messes up, like it's on me.
Yep.
But that's kind of the same thing in my like everything else in my career. Like I don't have a manager. I'm not signed. I'm writing and producing and sometimes like mixing and mastering everything myself. Like so sometimes no one hears the song until it's out except for me.
Right.
So if something goes wrong, if like I forget to email someone about a premiere, that's on me. I can't be like, oh, bro, you didn't, it's on me. So yeah, that's it's the same thing live. So like if something messes up, it's on me, and I've had to like practice so that like I have everything down to a T.
Yep.
But it's a really cool, interesting way of approaching my songs. Is this like live sampling thing? I love dance music, as I already said. So like, I really love the way that I'm able to like almost DJ my pop songs, which isn't like super conventional. But yeah, down the track, I would like to get like a drummer and maybe a guitarist, synth player kind of thing on board. But once again, as I'm like embracing the fact that I don't know what I'm doing, I'm embracing the fact that like I can kind of figure this out by myself, and I'm doing that all right so far, I think. So I'll just keep doing it until like it needs a drummer.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea that it's all on you. Is that like it sounds stressful, but is there a bit of relief in that
Honestly, yeah.
If something goes wrong, it's just on you. No one else can be mad at you.
100%.
You don't have to be mad at anyone else. Like it's just self-contained in a way.
It's great. It's so good. I thought it would be super, super scary.
Yeah.
But it's so good. Like I hear a lot of my friends who are in bands, they'll they find it really hard to make content. Like I find it hard to make content. I'm not great at social media. I try my best, but I'm not great at it. But if they need to do something, they like have to coordinate with three or four other people. Like my online presence and just in general, Junior is as like people who I meet on the street who now know me call me Junior. Like
That's
it's
great.
just me, right? So it feels just like it feels just like I am just being myself online.
Yep.
I can just do things. All my business, marketing, things that I do with Junior, I just have to do by myself. And if I don't do it, it's on me. And then that means if I'm like, oh, I have to send this email or I have to finish this song by this time, I'm probably gonna do it because no one else is gonna do it. So it's like I'm good with deadlines.
That's good.
I'm good.
Not
with
many
stress.
people are. You know?
No, a lot of people are just like, yeah, they get a bit caught up and they're like, I'm just not gonna do it.
Yeah.
But I want this to go as far as it can. I think it has the potential to. Once again, embracing the fact that I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just kind of like not knowing what I'm doing in public now.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna take this era of not knowing what I'm doing as far as I can and just see what happens.
Brilliant. So, that being said, what would you say is in the immediate future of this new era?
Immediate future of this new era. Honestly, there is going to be some crazy visuals in the immediate future. I won't say too much, but the music video that we have for "You Stay on My Mind" is what I am absolutely most proud of in the world. Like, it is insane.
So excited.
And I want to do way more visual things like that. I want to create, as we started talking about at the start, I want to make like a world around Junior. Not make myself a character in that world, but I just want to kind of make a visual, something that people can catch on to visually.
Yep.
And I think a lot of my other visuals, I've tried to keep an aesthetic, but this one feels the most polished and the most like, this feels like me.
Cool.
So yeah, I want to do a lot of that. I've got a lot of people asking me about merch. I will make merch eventually. Actually, I've got a bracelet for you.
Oh wow!
I'll get that. I'll get that to you later.
How lucky am I?
Yeah, I want to make merch, but I want to make it like. I love fashion, so I want to make it like proper streetwear, like things that people could like actually wear, even if they didn't know Junior. Yeah, like as the music. Like I love what Tyler the Creator's doing with Golf Le Fleur. I love that because it's like I listen to Tyler, but like you wouldn't have to be able to think that they are just like really cool. It just
looks cool.
Yeah, it just looks cool. So I want to do that. You know, the only thing that's stopping me is me because I'm the only person that's doing it. So like, you know, I just have to make those goals.
Yeah, wonderful.
Crush them and do it.
Can't wait.
Yep.
And if anyone listening wants to see you live, I think you have 2 upcoming shows.
I have 3 upcoming shows.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm playing. So I'm playing the night before the Uni Tunes at the Royal Bondi. It's a free show. If you want to see the set before Uni Tunes, come on down. I'm going to be supporting Zila on that night. Then I've got Uni Tunes the next night at Metro Social.
Yes.
Which is going to be so good. Sick lineup. And then the next week on Saturday, hold on, let me just double check the date real quick. The next week on Saturday, which is the 27th, I'm going to be opening for Stelly at Oxford Art Factory at the Gallery Bar for her Softly tour.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So many opportunities coming your way, which is just great to see because you couldn't be more deserving. The stuff you're putting out is fantastic. So finally, at the end of every episode, we ask our guests to give us 2 songs for our podcast, not podcast, for our playlist. One that is a Junior song and another one that's a personal favorite that you just want to have on there. So what would your 2 songs be?
I'm going to do 2 songs. The first song I've already mentioned, Beaming by Friday. Like, that guy deserves everything that is coming to him. Like, the streams are absolutely through the roof because it is such a good song. Like, if you have not listened to it, just listen to it. It's so good. And a song of mine. What's my favorite at the moment? Will this be out by when You Stay's out?
I think it should be out.
Okay, we're gonna do You Stay on My Mind because that is my favorite out of the 6 I've got. If not, what era am I in? I think I'm liking I Didn't Know Myself at the moment.
We can put both on there.
You put both?
Let's just do it.
I Didn't Know Myself, You Stay, and Beaming.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure getting inside your mind. Sorry, that was an accidental 1975 reference. Anything else you want to say to the listeners before we wrap?
Oh, that's open-ended question. Thank you for listening. If you haven't heard me, you can find me on socials under Junior Full Stop. That's JNR, then the word full stop, FULLSTOP, if I spelled that right. Yeah, thanks for listening. If you like my music, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know. It's hard to talk to people that aren't there right in front of me.
To the microphone.
To the microphone. Yeah, you're looking good, microphone.
All right, this has been Uni Tunes. You've been listening to our interview with Junior. Thank you very much one last time for joining us. And once again, he has 3 shows coming up, so check out one of them. Definitely check out Uni Tunes live at the Metro.
Tunes.
And as my co-host Archie, who couldn't be here today, always says, that's all, folks. That's a wrap. See?
Thank you for listening to Uni Tunes.